Hi there, my name is Zakaria Qasim, and I'm the Community and Events Coordinator here at the Monty Center. The Monty Center is an independent nonprofit located here in Wisconsin, Green Bay University. It was founded by Richard Monty as an ecumenical center reflecting Father Monty's desire to collaborate with people of goodwill from all communities of faith. Today at the center, programs cultivate community conversation and interfaith connection among college students and community members in Northeast Wisconsin and beyond. And today we're delighted to welcome Dr. Cristina Ortiz to the Monty Center. Dr. Ortiz is a professor in the Department of Humanistic Studies at the University of Wisconsin-Green Bay. She teaches interdisciplinary courses on contemporary culture, the Spanish language, and literature written in Spanish. She's also an affiliate faculty member here at the Monty Center. Tonight, Dr. Ortiz will be speaking about the Camino de Santiago, or the Way of St. James. The Camino is a network of ancient pilgrimage routes across Europe that converge at the Cathedral of Santiago de Compostela in Spain. For centuries, pilgrims have walked the Camino, seeking truth, spiritual growth, personal challenge, or a meaningful communal experience, journeying through some of Europe's most beautiful and historic landscapes. Please join me in giving a warm welcome to Dr. Cristina Ortiz.
I have, yeah. Well, thank you very much, Zakaria, for that introduction. And I think that he summarized my talk very well and what the Camino is. So, but good evening. Thank you for being here this beautiful afternoon. My name is Cristina Ortiz, and I'm a professor here in the Novel Language Department and the Humanities Department, as Zakaria said. What I have lived in the United States for more than 35 years. I was born in Spain, in northern Spain, actually in a city on one of the Camino de Santiago paths. So I've seen pilgrims all my life crossing and walking the Camino, and that was something that I really wanted to do, but I never got to do it until the summer of 2024. My fellow pilgrim, with a group of friends actually from here, from Green Bay, Wisconsin. And that's going to be the presentation, the focus of my presentation today. But also during this evening presentation, I'm going to be sharing with you some aspects of the historical and cultural significance and relevance of this ancient pilgrimage, as well as a little bit of my own experiences walking the Camino. Has anybody here walked the Camino? I know there's 1, 2, 3, 4 people. Okay, so please, I'm gonna ask you to, during the Q&A, every Camino, every experience is different. So share your experiences as well. Okay, so what is El Camino de Santiago? El Camino de Santiago is a medieval path that traversing northern Spain and leading to the city of Santiago de Compostela, which is it's right here, okay? So that's the northwestern point in Spain, in the region of Galicia, right here. And this is a short and clear definition, but let's pause and think for a moment. We generally refer to this journey in the singular. We call it El Camino. But as you can see in the slide, there are many routes, many different routes and paths to Santiago. The reality is that there are many ways to experience this journey. There are El Camino Francés, the French way, that starts, actually there is a street in Paris called Saint-Jacques, and you can start walking, traversing all France, crossing the border, and continuing to Santiago. The French path is right here, and is one of the most popular and most famous routes. We also have the Camino Primitivo from Oviedo to Santiago, Camino Portugués, which splits into the coastal Camino, which is what we did, and the spiritual Camino, El Camino del Norte, which is the one that traverses my hometown right here. My hometown is here, San Sebastián. And there's also the Camino that connects the south of Spain with the north through the Via de la Plata, which is a Roman path built during the time that Hispania was a province of the Roman Empire. So the Camino has evolved in so many different paths, as you see, because basically pilgrims start their journey in different locations. You can make your own Camino, and you can start. The Camino has people coming from England, from France, from Germany. So there are multiple paths and one single destination. And this leads me to talk about this. This is the current symbol of El Camino. Many people see here, what do you think this is? It's a symbol. What do you see represented there? A shell. Very good. Many people see here the shell that identifies that one is walking the pilgrimage to Santiago. And the shell identifies a miracle attributed to Saint James, Santiago, during the brief apostolate that he had in the peninsula. The miracle was that he saved a young boy and his horse from drowning in the Atlantic Ocean. And when the boy and the horse emerged covered in scalloped shells from the ocean, it was believed to, that it was thanks to the intervention of the saint. But for others, the shell represents an object that the pilgrims used to drink water. Many of you also have probably seen the shell used for baptism. And if you look at, you can also see maybe rays of suns or rivers or paths. This is the shell of Santiago that identifies that a pilgrim is walking the path to Santiago. But in reality, what this is representing is that no matter where you start, no matter what path you follow, all of them converge in a single destination. And this represents the meaning of the Camino. The meaning of the Camino, that there is no fixed starting point. You can, like my children say, you do you, right? You decide where you begin your journey, and everybody arrives at the same final point. In a sense, symbolically or spiritually, the symbol of the Camino stands or represents life or journeys, our wandering on earth until the final destination. There is a Spanish poet, famous Spanish poet, Antonio Machado, that expressed this idea or this thought more beautifully in his verse that many Spanish speakers know by heart, caminante no hay camino, se hace camino al andar. Traveler, there is no road. You make your own path as you walk. The other symbol that you saw here is in the shells is a red cross, and that is a particular type of cross. It combines the symbol of the fleur de lis with the Roman cross, and this is associated with the saint as well, Santiago, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that aspect of the figure of Saint James. So who is Santiago? Who is Saint James? Well, according to the Bible, Saint James, Sanctus Jacobus, you know that when you contract the name forms Saint James, or in Spanish, Santiago, was one of Jesus' 12 apostles, part of his inner circle, along with John and with Peter. And we know this because we find in the Bible pieces of his biography, chronicle, in the New Testament, where we learn also that he was witness to important moments of Jesus' life. But the connection with Santiago with the Iberian Peninsula is based more on legends than any historical records that are known. It is believed that he came to Spain, again, I'm referring to the peninsula with the name given by the Romans when they annexed the territory to their empire, to the Roman Empire. So he came to Spain in 40 after death to evangelize, okay? But he had little success. Then the Virgin Mary appeared to him to offer encouragement, and he continued not having much success. So on a second occasion, again, the legend says that she asked him to return to Jerusalem, to the Holy Land, and continue there his apostolate. Once in the Holy Land, James was more successful, he had more followers, was converting more people to Christianity, and he was beheaded. So he became the first martyr. What happened then is that after he was dead, his bones were believed to have been brought to the Iberian Peninsula again, to Finis Terrae, the end of the earth. Okay, remember that Santiago, as I pointed in the map, is in the northwestern, the most northwestern point of the peninsula, and that was believed in the Middle Ages to be the end of the earth, the most western point. So according to legend, again, the bones that were carried from the Holy Land to the Iberian Peninsula on a magical boat guided by angels and buried inland. In 1814, a hermit named Pelayo, is usually attributed to him. Other variations of the legend say that there were a group of shepherds, followed a trail of stars that led to a luminous tomb. And that is where you, perhaps, there's no clear attribution, but perhaps that's where Compostela comes from, right? Because Compostela derives from Campus Stellae in Latin, that formed the word later on in Spanish, Compostela. So this shepherd, so Pelayo, this hermit, followed a trail of stars that led them to this particular place, a tomb, and Pelayo, of the shepherds, alerted the bishop. And the bishop at that time confirmed that it was indeed the tomb of St. James. And so a modest chapel was built. The current cathedral that we have in the picture here is the third architectural structure built on this site. And the construction of the cathedral began in 1075 and was completed 100 years later in 1188. Pelayo, supposedly the person who walked and pointed to the bishop where the tomb of St. James was, or this shepherd, were the first, are considered the first pilgrims that went to the tomb of St. James. You know, why Spain and how, what is the political, the historical context that was at the time in the Iberian Peninsula? As you know, in 711, a group of Berber tribes come from Africa into the peninsula and start gaining more and more territory. And so the peninsula gets divided between Christian kingdoms in the north and the Al-Andalus in the rest of the peninsula, linked to the Maghreb, right? And in a sense, the Iberian Peninsula then was sandwiched between the Charlemagne Christian project for Europe and the expansion of the Islamic world, which included most of the peninsular territory. The interaction then in the peninsula among the three major monotheistic religions, Islam, Christianity, and Judaism, gave way to one of the most fruitful scientific, artistic, and cultural interactions. Spain was really the cradle of many translations of classic works, the art, etc. But at the same time, there were fierce battles and wars to annex and gain territory to obtain more land and power. So just to give you a glimpse at the situation, the cultural situation at the time, this is a map of the Iberian Peninsula, and you have to remark that I'm not using Spain because Spain didn't exist as a country. Okay, so it's a territory, it's inhabited by different peoples and with different interests and connections. And then we're trying to figure out here what is the importance of the St. James path in this cultural mosaic, right? So in this slide representing the situation of the Iberian Peninsula in the 10th century, I'm going to play for you the sounds that could be heard in the north. Do you recognize the sound? It's what? Church bells. Church bells, very good. And what could be heard in Al-Andalus?
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar.
Anybody recognize that? The call for prayer, okay, in a mosque. So you can see that in both territories the cultural presence and was important. But you can also see that Christians were significantly outnumbered, okay? And there were battles. We say there was cultural exchange, but there were battles. And the Christians started to attribute their losses to the fact that they said, no, and perhaps this is a Western invention, or most likely it's a Western invention. Christians say, well, we're losing because Muslims, the Arabs, carry the arm of Muhammad into the battle, and that brings them luck, and they defeat us. There are no historical records to support this idea. There's no accounts, but you know, it was something that it was believed. You know that gave them the strength and the power. The importance of that explanation of why one group was more powerful or dominant than the other is important because it gave the dispute and the battles over territory a new meaning, changing from land acquisition and annexation power to a religious clash between believers of one faith and believers of the other. So for the earliest part of Christendom, when the tomb of St. James was found, or the bones, he wasn't really a very important figure. But in a particular difficult battle between the Christians and the Arabs, the Battle of Clavijo, the Christians suddenly win. And they attributed their victory. Now they didn't have any arm or any relic to say this is why we won the battle, but they attributed the victory to the help of the saint. St. James descended from the heavens on a white horse, and you have here a painting. You know, there are different images that we can find in Spanish painting and in Latin American painting as well, of the figure of St. James in a white horse coming down, you know, helped by angels to help the Spaniards. Here is his, here is the sword. Remember that I told you that I will explain what was that important and as a symbol in the seashell, coming with the sword to help Spaniards win the battle and kill the enemy. That's why he received the nickname that is horrible and completely politically incorrect nowadays, but Santiago Matamoros, Santiago Moor Slayer. Okay, so the sword is what we find in the middle of the seashell symbol. So by early 12th century, the cathedral has been built, and the ideas of Santiago's help to Christians has solidified, and there is a flow of people from all corners of Europe that start the pilgrimage to Santiago. This flow of people entering the peninsula through, you saw the paths, right? Through France, through sometimes you see the boats by the sea from England, from Germany, help solidify a sense of European identity, a share of ideas. The people were transporting also ideas, art, etc. So that the pilgrims help consolidate a Christian identity, if you wish, okay? You can think, pilgrimage is a common practice across religions, right? Think La Mecca, no? But in Christianity, visiting sacred places is optional for the faithful. In other cultures, it's a mandate. You have to go at least once in your lifetime. The popularity of the pilgrimage in Christianity comes from the desire of pilgrims to touch or see or be close to the relics or the fragments of a holy person's body. In this case, the bones of St. James, because they stand as a symbol of immortality, as a miracle in their incorruptibility. They haven't, they haven't disintegrated through time. During the 12th and 13th centuries also, pilgrimage to other holy sites like Jerusalem became increasingly dangerous, making the Camino a safer alternative. Okay, so once the Camino became popular, the church started giving indulgences to those who completed the Camino. This was important, as some pilgrims needed to demonstrate that they have completed the pilgrimage to fulfill a penance or even a sentence. You could be sentenced to walk El Camino. So at that time, there were three types of pilgrims: those who go to visit a site to request a favor or to give thanks to the saint; those who were sent as penance or for a sin or a crime committed; and also those who, like today, many pilgrims wanted to break from the routine and they saw new experiences, religious or otherwise. So, the church started granted a special indulgence to pilgrims, and in order to do so, they created this beautiful certificate of completion. Okay, so if you walk, the certificate is only issued to you if you walk at least 100 kilometers. To this day, this is the same as in the Middle Ages. In fact, it's written in Latin, and I invite you to come after the talk and look at it and see if you can understand what it says. To this day, you must walk 100 kilometers. Well, now we don't live in the Middle Ages. There are other ways of transportation, so the church allows you to bike 200. Okay, so that's the minimum. You cannot drive. You cannot use public transportation. Something interesting that I learned while I was putting together this presentation is that since 2009, there is an organization called This Camino that helps people with accessibility issues to finish El Camino. Okay, so because I was thinking, well, how is this fair that you have to walk? Can everybody walk 100 kilometers? And why are we leaving out people who might want to do this? And so there are organizations that will help you reach Santiago. They have some special bikes and to help people with accessibility issues. Because of the flow of people, as I said, El Camino created this cultural exchange, this shared sense of identity among different people. It served to spread ideas, stories, architectural designs, among many other things. In a sense, this idea of cultural exchange and building connection and community among different people continues to exist today, and is one of the characteristics of El Camino and the pilgrimage. Okay, so when you walk El Camino, you get a passport that is called Credencial del Peregrino, the Pilgrim's Passport, and then you stamp it at the beginning. You can start anywhere you want, but you get a stamp. And then you get a stamp all along the way. And then when you get to Santiago, you take it to the office of the pilgrim. They look, they say, okay, yes, you walk 100 kilometers, and they issue the certificate. So this is our friend, my fellow pilgrim Margarita, who kept all our passports in a little pouch, and she was in charge of getting all those stamps all along the way. So she was excellent. Okay, after the Reformation, after Luther's Reformation, the pilgrimage started to decline. You know, in Catholicism, external manifestations of your faith, processions, pilgrimage, there are people who walk barefoot. You know, externalization of your faith is part of Catholicism, but it's not in Protestant churches. And giving you indulgences was one of the things that Luther said, no, you know, I mean, at that time, it wasn't that the church give you indulgences, they will sell them to you, right? And so that changed, and in Spain lost the pilgrims from Germany, or from Northern Europe, basically. So the amount of pilgrims walking the Camino shrunk, and you know, El Camino started to decline, and it continued like that until the 19th century. In the mid 20th century, the figure of Santiago was appropriated ideologically by Franco, who saw in the Civil War a rebirth of the Reconquista and the Crusade, etc., etc. And that contributed to politicize El Camino in a way that it didn't have. It was in the late 20th century when it experienced a true renaissance. Churches and monasteries were restored, roads paved, signs placed, and it became a UNESCO World Heritage, attracting once again pilgrims from all over the world. That cultural renaissance was assisted as well by an popular culture, an interest in popular culture, and the popularity of films like The Way. Has anybody seen the film? You know, it's a good, I think it does a good job at depicting what El Camino is. Books like The Pilgrimage by Brazilian writer Paulo Coelho, all of this focus on the Camino experience, and people wanted to, you know, to follow and to start doing the Camino. The Camino never abandoned, never lost its religious and spiritual meaning. We could say that nowadays is walked by people seeking some spiritual, with some spiritual or religious goals, but also by a new type of pilgrim that is a little bit closer to what we would call tourist. So the secular pilgrim, someone who searches to escape the daily routine, the hustle and bustle, wants to do something slower, spend some days in contemplation, enjoying nature, art, great food, or is ready for a physical challenge. And I can tell you that the Camino is. Whatever the motivation, one thing that is striking is that there are similarities between the past and the present, the past pilgrims and the present pilgrims. in the Middle Ages, walking El Camino was a really, well, not really, but a risky adventure. During the pilgrimage, animals and thieves presented all sorts of dangers. The dangers were such that pilgrims, before leaving their point of departure, whatever that was, made a testament, a will, in case they did not return from the adventure. Well, today, writing a will is not necessary. So, but walking El Camino continues to require a mental and a physical preparation, okay? So here are one of my fellow pilgrims, stretching, getting ready. You know, you cannot start walking if you haven't prepared yourself physically and walk and train a little bit before. But ancient and modern pilgrims had other commonalities. This is St. James, and this is a drawing of an ancient, a medieval pilgrim. And then you can see that the medieval pilgrims wore broad hats to protect themselves from the sun and the rain, a cloak for cold weather, or maybe to use it as a blanket, comfortable shoes, usually sandals, a pole or a cane to help with the walking, or to defend themselves from wild animals, a gourd to help carry water, a pouch to carry some food, documents, or money, and the scallop shell in the hat to identify that I'm walking the St. James path. Well, modern pilgrims are not different, okay? So only the gear is more modern. They wear good shoes, probably Hokas, the most popular shoe in the Camino. The hats, poles, windbreakers, the shell somewhere in the backpack, and the backpack they carry is not very big because it should not weigh more than 10–50% of your body weight. Not because carrying more is not allowed, it's because it becomes increasingly difficult to walk if you carry a lot of weight. So they said, you know, you should not carry more than 10 or 15% of your body weight. Another common aspect between pilgrims in the past and in the present are the ailments and health issues derived from walking long distances. And you can see that, you know, foot care was and continues to be essential. You know, our friend here probably was at a hospital. Hospital in the past served as a lodging. It wasn't only for the sick, it also hosted travelers. Today, there are pharmacies along the Camino where you can buy bandages, tape, knee sleeves, and other supplies for your hurting feet. And I'm saying that because an average walk in the Camino, a stage in the Camino is usually, well, for us at least it was, 17 to 20 kilometers per day, some days more, some days less. So if you do that repeatedly, believe me, you need to take good care of your feet. The other thing that was very important then and now is good nutrition. Nutrition and hydration were important in the past and today. You can find along the Camino great restaurants. This is my group after a fantastic meal. Cafeterias where you can buy a panini or something inexpensive. All along the route, there are restaurants that offer the menú del peregrino very inexpensively, or coffee, or a small sandwich, or even in the middle of the forest, you'll find a Spaniard with a food truck that will make you a smoothie for a small price. No matter where you are in the Camino, there will be a place to eat and a place to keep you hydrated. An important part of the Camino is to leave any hurry at home. Slow down and smell the roses. It is important to combine walking with moments of contemplation. Here we're taking a little break in a small church. It's a small chapel. It's not a church, it's a chapel. So that is an important part. You're not in a hurry, okay? You have to learn how to enjoy the Camino. Some people took the relaxation part very seriously. In the past, hospitals were built along the Camino. A hospital comes from the Latin root hospitale, the same root as hospitable. And as I mentioned before in this presentation, hospitals were not only to take care of the sick, they were also to lodge the travelers. Showing your Compostela, for instance, will give you 3 days in a hospital where you could be fed and you could stay over there. In fact, we have here hospitalero that volunteers to be in albergues and welcomes the pilgrims. Today, pilgrims do not stay in hospitals if they don't need to, but they can choose to stay in albergues, hostales, or hotels, Airbnbs, convents, monasteries. There is a great deal of lodging for every budget and any interest. Many days, you have to start walking very early, especially if you're facing a day ahead with high temperatures. You need to start walking before the sun rises. This is a picture of the morning that we left before the sun came up. We were with our lanterns in our forehead, and we left Padrón to Santiago. It was the last stretch of a walk, and it was the day that we reached our destination. Reaching Santiago, the feeling of reaching Santiago is hard to describe. You have been walking for so long and you're building this anticipation. So reaching Santiago is a mix of feelings and emotions, but the most prevalent is joy. It's a joyful sense of achievement. This is the reason why the hill from where you first get a glimpse of the city of Santiago is called in Galician Monte do Gozo, the Hill of Joy. In Santiago, pilgrims arrive at La Plaza del Obradoiro, which is the plaza in front of the cathedral, where you can see people from all over the world displaying flags from the different countries. Our group was very multicultural, so you have a US flag, Mexican flag, the flag of my community. So people enter the plaza singing, clapping. Is really a joyful, emotional moment. The joy continues in the beauty. You go inside the cathedral. The cathedral offers mass services every day, twice a day, at noon and at 7:30. And you know, as the Cathedral of Santiago is a gem of different architectonical styles, Romanesque, Baroque. After completing the pilgrimage, you go to the office of the Peregrino, you obtain your certificate, and if you complete the pilgrimage on a holy year, this one, confess and take communion, you will obtain an indulgencia plenaria, which means all your sins are forgiven. You start from zero. So start packing, okay? The pilgrimage experience. I started my presentation reminding you that the concept of pilgrimage exists in many different faith traditions, as it serves as a metaphor for our time on earth. We often think of journeys in terms of the beginning and the end, birth and death. One lesson of the Camino, of the pilgrimage, is to teach you to learn to enjoy the metaphor, to enjoy the walk in all of its moments, from the contemplation and enjoyment of an amazing landscape to a great meal with fellow pilgrims. It invites you to find in that middle, in the path. It invites you to find in the ordinary moment the transcendent part, the extraordinary. During the pilgrimage, one develops a strong sense of connection. You can be on your own, enjoying nature, but you also share the joy with other pilgrims. George Grinia, the founder of the William and Mary Institute for Pilgrimage Studies here in the United States, describes the pilgrimage as a caravan of strangers and yet a community of trust. These words capture the idea that the pilgrimage fosters a sense of mutual care, and that's very, very true. No matter where you begin El Camino, or how small, this is actually a picture of a place in the pier. So no matter where you start, how small the village that you traverse, or how large the city you pass through, people will wish you, and you will wish them. Buen camino, a phrase that can be translated, more or less, as good luck, safe travels. In times of extreme polarization, like the one that we're living in, what better wish could we give to one to another than this one, Buen Camino. Thank you for your attention, and Buen Camino.
Thank you again, Dr. Ortiz. I really appreciated that. We'll now be taking questions. Anyone has any questions, me and Jasmine will be walking around. Please raise your hands and we will come to you.
Thank you, Dr. Ortiz, for a great presentation. I'm wondering, around the shell, the 12 stars, is it that 12 apostles?
That's the European Union.
That's
because it's
okay.
yeah.
And then one other question is like, if you were to start, what one could be considered the very, very beginning, and how long would that be?
Well, it depends on what path you choose to start from. Let me go to my initial, as I show you, there are many paths. The most common is the French one that will start here, Saint-Jean-Pied-du-Port, in the one side of the Pyrenees, and then you cross the Pyrenees, and that is beautiful but hard. And then you walk all the way, the black line, to Santiago, and that's about almost 100 kilometers. If you do the entire thing, yeah, almost 780. Yeah. And so that is the most popular one, okay? And it will take you, a month, but yeah, about 4 or 5 weeks to do it, and walking everything. Then we decided to do the French coast with the Portuguese, and we started here in Porto, and then we walked through the coast to Santiago, and we walked about 200 kilometers in 10 days. Yes.
I missed the introduction, so I don't know if you kind of said something about this. I don't want to be repetitive, but are you someone who has gone to not only this as a pilgrim, but say like a lot of people will do it to Assisi and
Yeah.
also a lot of where the Mary apparitions have been, Medjugorje, Lourdes, Fatima. And I'm just asking to get a sense of maybe comparing or differences or what people's experiences have been like from these other places compared to here. This sounds very physically strenuous compared to some of the others, but I just wondered if you spoke to that already or would speak to it.
No, I focus just on El Camino, and this is the only pilgrimage that I've done. I've gone to the one here in Green Bay. Yeah, you know, I didn't walk, so I wouldn't get a certificate for that one because I drove. But no, we rode a bike. We rode a bike. And then we went to Lourdes, but my car, yeah, we drove. So this is the Camino that I actually walk. And what happens in Spain and in Portugal, I found that too, is that it's very organized. I mean, you cannot say, I'm hungry, where do I eat? I'm tired, where do I rest? There are other pilgrimages in other parts of the world, and I don't know if they're so established. You know, that I can tell you that this Camino de Santiago is one of the most popular because it is for infrastructure is easy to do. You know, and if you have any accessibility issues, you could find. You know, I mean, it has all these different things that perhaps in other places are difficult to find. Heidi.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, thank you for the talk. I did a little tiny pilgrimage at the corner of Irwin and Cass on the east side of Green Bay and got a plenary indulgence. It's at
Plenary indulgence.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
It's at St. Mary of the Angels, which is a Franciscan church. And on a certain day in August, it's a special day for Franciscans. St. Francis repaired a church somewhere in Italy. I don't remember the name of it. But if you go to St. Mary of the Angels on that particular day, on a Saturday, and you take confession, attend Mass, and I think receive communion, you get a plenary indulgence. Yeah, and I walked a block. Yeah. I don't think it was nearly as scenic. I think it was meaningful, but I mean,
Yeah.
it's a different experience. My house.
Yes.
Thank you very much for your presentation. I read a book which was published in 2008 by a woman who did the Camino, and she was an MDiv student, Master of Divinity, later became a chaplain. It was really a great book. She had decided to do this. Her father had recently died, and like it was a pilgrimage that she took to help process the death of her father. I can't remember the title, but it's pretty quick read. It's about 200 pages. But the one question I had, so when you did it, in terms of the pre-planning, like, did you arrange like all your overnight accommodations at a time, or did you just stop at a place along the way and say,
No.
here?
I'm not that type of person. No, we did. We met, the group met here. We planned our stops. You know, we're gonna walk from here there, from here there. And then we, you know, we book our accommodations. It's very easy. through booking. But we, there were different budgets in our group. So when we were doing it, we stay in hostels where we have bunk beds and we all slept in one room. I mean, this sense of community really is true. We were like, whose sock is this? Are you carrying my backpack? Is this your backpack? So we stay in hostels. We stay one night at least in one hotel. Then my favorite we stay in one convent. And my favorite was Airbnb apartments. And because we have more space, we could cook, we can, reconnect with, like perhaps we shouldn't have done that, but we put the news and we talk, it was really relaxing to stay in apartments. So they're also, and also something that touched me. I don't know if you remember, Margarita, no? There were some people that left us breakfast, although in the apartment, like here is milk and coffee and muffins and cookies and stuff like that. When you're just renting the apartment for one night. I mean, that was just like, there's so many details of kindness, of people going beyond, what is expected just to make your stay. Strangers talking to us. Margarita met all sort of sister conversations with everybody. And it's always this buen camino, this wishing the people good luck, safe travels, which resonates with a lot of people. I mean, something that I learned from a common friend of ours that did El Camino before us. And he told me that he did the French Camino and the Spanish part. And then he told me that he ran into a lot of people from Korea. Apparently in South Korea, students in college students get credit for doing El Camino, for completing El Camino, because it shows persistence, because it shows, strength, endurance, gold, and if they're coming from Korea, and imagine that Spain is a very, very different culture, So I thought, wow, this is great. And then he told me that some of my students told him, it looks really good on your resume. Yeah, and he's hospitalero. If you're interested in lodging, he can tell you adventures. How it is. You stay once a year for 2 weeks in the.
Yeah, we did the Camino. My wife actually before me. 3 years ago, my wife did 6 years ago, I believe. And once you do the Camino and you want to volunteer as a hospitalero, you can do a small course in the United States. It's done different locations, maybe a few times a year. It's a weekend course, just 2 days of learning about the Camino, how to take care of pilgrims and things like that. And then you can apply to the hospitalero, which I did twice, this year and last year. It's a good experience. I think you feel like you're a pilgrim, but you're not walking. That's a good part about it. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and we will probably do it again. The different routes that we didn't do, like Norte, I definitely recommend it. It's a fun way of meeting people. I mean, we are visiting one country, but actually we're visiting several countries because you run into people from Australia, New Zealand, Korea, South America. I mean, every continent that you meet people, learn about their culture. And as Cristina said, this day and age of polarization, I think it's a good thing to exchange views and learn about other cultures and what they think.
Do you have to have done the walk to
Yeah.
that position? Okay.
So I'm Ahmed's wife. So actually it was our daughter who went to Wheaton, and part of the extension for the kids from Wheaton College over the summer was the kids kind of split in different groups, and she got the Camino, so actually walked half of it. but then in Santiago, volunteered in Santiago for 6 weeks. So I thought to myself, I'm gonna do that walk. I really want to do that walk. So I actually walked it by myself the first time and walked it from Saint-Jean and up over that Pyrenees. And I remember that day very well because it was hard and actually a storm came through. So the local people actually took the pilgrims off the community. But it's such a great walk. And in fact, I said, oh, Matt, you need to do it, but you need to do it by yourself because you rub shoulders with so many great people along the way and just the cultures and just the folks that you meet. And in fact, the following year, we went to Sweden and met up with people that I'd walked with on the Camino. And yeah, it took me 32 days to walk it. I had one rest day, and that was those first few days. My legs, oh my goodness, it's strenuous those first few days, but it's shocking how fit you become. And then you can, but after that first week, 10 days, I used to, especially the first part, I'd walk a bit, stop a bit, take a breath. And I'd say, I'm going to get to that next bit, walk a bit, stop a bit, take a breath. But then after that week, 10 days, it's just amazing how your body adapts. So, yeah, wonderful.
And thank you for that intervention. One thing that I want everybody to remark of that is that she said, I walk. No, a woman by herself decided to walk 700 and something kilometers, 32 days, crossing forest, villages, and I don't know if you were afraid at any time. I mean, it's safe, people respect pilgrims, it's super safe for people to walk.
Follow-up question to that. So what time of year did you guys go? And how was the weather?
We went in July. In Spain, we say no matter 1 month of the year, if you're going to Galicia, expect rain. It's the northern part of Spain. It's very rainy, it's very green, it's very beautiful. We were in July and I think we have 1 day of a little bit of rain that we almost said, oh, we're gonna take the bus. I don't want to get wet. And then, thanks to my husband that is always like, negotiating in the middle, so I say, why don't we walk a little bit? And then we reconsider. And then we started walking and the rain, the rain stopped and everything was absolutely gorgeous with the water, the rainwater. I mean, it was really pretty. So I have to thank him. I didn't take the bus.
Was it really terribly hot?
When you're going uphill with a backpack, it feels hot. But as I said, it wasn't bad. It wasn't bad. And there's always, when you say, I need a diet Pepsi, there is somebody that has, a little cooler and selling Pepsis. We had this wonderful woman who opened up her house to us, and I would have kissed her. I mean, it was so. I mean, I was like, we were just going uphill, 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 and I think this is never gonna end. And then suddenly, we see a sign that says pilgrims this way, and we go, and then we're in somebody's garden, and it's like, well, this is somebody's house, and then she's like, what can I offer you to drink? And I'm gonna bring you salty food because you have sweat a lot, and and she brought bananas. She had the whole thing that we needed: bananas, almonds, drinks, and then we say, can we offer something? I said, well, live, if you want to live something, that will use your money to buy more things for the next set of pilgrims. So, yeah, so I mean, it's really a lesson, you know, really lessons of how people care for strangers, you know.
I'm wondering how it was to re-enter after the walk. And what, maybe what lessons or what you could apply to your life.
That's a really good question. You know, we stay a few days in Santiago, a couple of days, and then all the group that has been living together. I mean, like we share everything. Everybody went different places, right? There were some that returned to the United States, some that continued a trip in Spain. I went back to my hometown. For me, what remained was that feeling of joy. I mean, we all got along as a group. I mean, when you're traveling 6 people, and really, I mean, we were sleeping, sharing dorms, right? And we're all professional grown-ups. And yeah, you're a little bit apprehensive. Who's going to be the first one to storm out of the room? Like, you snore, right? But no, everything was so nice. I mean, I don't know. I mean, so it is true that after walking, and there are parts where the physical effort is significant, you know, and after that it's like, okay, now I don't have to walk anymore. You know, it's kind of strange, you know, you just want to go around the city in circles. But no, I'm talking about me, myself, right? That feeling of joy and putting together this presentation and looking at the pictures, that sentiment resurfaced. You know, it was beautiful. We all got along super fantastic. It has made our friendship, I think, stronger. And I think I'll do another Camino again. I mean, I think that I want to try to do other Caminos, probably with my children as well. I think it's a good family experience. Yeah, I don't know if Margarita, would you have any things that you would like to add? What was your feeling like? Margarita was the person who you saw in the picture. I mean, she was the organized in the sense of like, okay, give me your pilgrim passport. I'm gonna make sure that everybody gets a stamp.
This is something I never had in my mind I was gonna do. And when I was asked, I was like, yeah, I think I can do it. I was not sure. Even when I was there, I was like, I'm gonna try. That was always my phrase. I'm gonna try. If I can do it, I will do it. But I think every day I was like, yeah, I wanna do it. And the day that we said it's raining and maybe we shouldn't do it, I was like, I was having mixed spirit because I was like, yeah, I wanna rest because the rain and everything, but I really wanna do it. And if I don't do it, I'm gonna feel bad. And thanks to David, we decided to do it. And now I think, to me, it's like, yeah, I think I can do it. I want it. If I try. I really have joy just looking at the pictures, the feeling comes to me again. I don't know, I love it. I really, I'm enjoying this. So because I'm feeling it again. And yeah, I think I will do it again.
How did you choose which route?
Oh, that's a great question. Well, you know, we had a friend who was turning 15 and it was going to be her birthday. And so we've been talking about doing a Camino, and but we say, you decide what route we'll do. And I was secretly thinking, please, the Portuguese coast, please, the coast. Because I have read and I knew that the Portuguese coast is beautiful. The landscape is, I mean, undescriptible. And I knew that the French one is more, there are more people. Once you are reaching Santiago, you see pilgrims everywhere. In the Portuguese, at the beginning we didn't run into barely anybody. I mean, we were crossing these forests and then little by little, I mean, we run into people in the albergues, in the places where we stay. As we were approaching Santiago, we started seeing more pilgrims. But I mean, it's almost like we have the world to ourselves, and so, and the friend who was, having the birthday, then suddenly we got together at a Mexican restaurant and said, okay, so what is it gonna be? Because we need to start planning. And she said, the Portuguese coast. I said, yes. So it was that. I mean, we could go, and I'm sure that the feeling of joy, of achievement, the companionship, the sense of community would have been the same no matter what path we chose. But I just read that it was, beautiful. And in fact, it says in our certificate that we walk 194 kilometers, but we walk more because we were like, oh, look at that castle. And oh, over there. So we didn't go in a straight line. We sightsee, we tour. We suddenly arrive at a beautiful beach. We tossed the backpacks and we went swimming. I mean, it was just like super nice.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ortiz.
All right, I have an announcement. I've been told that if this talk has opened your desire and your appetite to walk El Camino, in the follow-up message that you will get from the Multi Center asking you what you thought about the presentation, etc., will be a form for you to express an interest if you wish. And the Multi Center is considering sponsoring a Camino community travel group for summer of 2026. So thank you again for your presence. It's a beautiful day.